So the next thing you're going to do is go through each and every research study, so every article, and sometimes articles may have 3 or 4 studies within the article, so you actually would have to treat each of them independently, as long as they had independent samples out of them. And what you're going to do is create your coding system for your meta-analysis. You want to develop an inclusive coding system that will include as much as possible to cover your hypothesis. And you can see in your Durlach chapter in your Grimm and Yarnell book on pages 324 and 325, they talk about some of the challenges in developing an inclusive coding system. It can be difficult to do. Then what you do, like all good coding studies, is you have 2 or 3 separate coders go through and code the same articles. I actually was a coder for one of my friends when I was a grad student, and I went through every article that was ever written on the topic of marriage enrichment. His question was, do the rich get richer and the poor get poorer? Essentially, do people who are already happy do well in marriage enrichment, but people who aren't doing well actually get worse in marital enrichment? And so he was trying to answer that question. I was one of his coders. I had to go through all the articles and code them for him. Then he took my answers and another person's answers and just look and see whether we have at least 80% agreement. Then there was a third person who looked over all of our disagreements and made decisions on whether or not I was correct or this other student was correct in it. Hopefully that third person is a little bit more of an expert to make the decisions on disagreements, if it's possible to get that. The kinds of things people code for are the kind of design that it was. Was it experimental, non-experimental, quasi-experimental? Therapist variables or interventionist variables, if there are any. Did you have graduate students being the therapist, or did you have licensed professionals, or who were the interventionists? How was the control group obtained and managed? Or any kind of placebo that was done for them? What kind of treatment was exactly used? Was it manualized and tightly controlled, or was it just do your best to do what you think is REB, BT kind of therapy or something? How was the study administrated? What were the number of sessions, or the amount, the dosage of treatment that they got? All those kinds of things. There are some computer programs that have been built now for this kind of issue, particularly for psychotherapeutic interventions, and you can start looking for them. But basically, people create a spreadsheet where each of the columns are the different things you're coding for, and each of the rows are each particular research study that you're evaluating. Me to make sure everything's really, really clear, by the way. Having evaluated them, sometimes it's hard to determine whether you have a true experiment or a quasi-experiment, and you have to really search hard for it. So, that's something you're probably going to know, but there may be other things that you ask people to code, and you need to make sure that it's really super clear exactly what it is. 1 equals 0 to 5 sessions, 2 equals 6 to 10 sessions of therapy, 3 equals 10 to 15 sessions, something like that, instead of 1 equals small amount of therapy, 2 equals moderate amount of therapy, 3 equals long-term therapy. People, more exact, the better.